Welcome back, everybody, to the AmandaFest podcast. I'm your host, Amanda, and our mission here is simple. It's to inspire and empower our listeners to take aligned action towards their dream lives, whatever that looks like for them. I am so excited to introduce today's guest. It's an old friend of mine from Los Angeles. Evan was born and raised in Dallas, Texas. He actually majored in mechanical engineering at UT. And after 2 years in Houston in the oil and gas industry, designing rigs and platforms, he decided to take a job transfer in LA. When he got to LA, his new roommate at the time was an actor. And although the acting world was completely foreign to him, he decided to take an acting class just for fun. After his first class in 2011, he fell in love with the art and was off to the races. Today's topic is going to be all about perseverance and mindset, staying committed to what lights you up no matter what. And Evan is such a beautiful master of this lesson. And I'm so excited to have him talk all about this. But before we do that, I'd just like to take a quick moment for us all to get present. Selfishly, I like to do this just so I can drop into my body and be fully here before we dive into the mind and world of our beautiful guests. So, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, if it's safe to do so, I invite you to close your eyes. I like to put a hand on my heart, one hand on my belly, just to connect with myself and ground into this present moment. I want you to just start noticing your breath. Don't try to change it or do anything, just notice it. And now I want you to start thinking about what you'd like to call in for the next hour with us. So take a nice deep breath in. And on that inhale, we're setting an intention. And on our exhale, we're going to let go of something that no longer serves us. Maybe it was a moment of frustration, stress, you're tired, whatever it is. We're breathing in what we're calling in more of, and we're breathing out what we want to let go of. So we're just going to take a couple breaths like that, and then we're going to dive in. So let's take a couple nice deep breaths in through your nose, and out through your mouth. 2 more times, in through your nose, and out through your mouth. And one last time on the exhale, feel free to shake it out, make some noise if you really need to let something go. Nice deep breath in and out. Beautiful. Welcome to your body. Welcome to AmandaFest. Evan, I'm so happy to have you here.
Yay.
Welcome.
Good to be here. Thanks for the kind
Yeah.
intro. I am hardly a master of perseverance and mindset, but I appreciate you saying that, and I'll pass that on to my mom. She'll love that. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Well, I've been really specific about who I wanted to call onto this podcast. We're still in the beginning episodes. You're just number
All
12.
right.
So we met back in 2017, right when I first moved to LA. You were one of my first friends in LA, which was so funny. Our like connections down the line were so hilarious because very long story short, I ended up working with one of Evan's best friends from, when did you guys meet? In childhood, elementary school?
No, he was just my first roommate when I moved out here. So 2011.
Oh, oh, wait, Glenn was your first roommate when you
Yeah,
first moved out to LA?
yeah.
Bro.
We actually got connected through mutual friends. So he and I both went to University of
Oh,
Texas.
but you had the connect. Got it,
When I
got
was
it.
moving to LA, I knew 2 people in LA, one of them being my girlfriend at the time. That's the reason I moved to LA, was really to give her and I a chance, and didn't really like my job in Houston. And then the other person I knew was a friend from University of Texas, and she knew Glenn and then Ross and Grant. And
Got
yeah, and
it.
then like she knew that, I think, yeah, Grant was leaving, and she was like, "Oh, I know these 3 nice guys. One of them's leaving. You should come out next time you come out to LA. Come party with them and see if you're a good fit." So So yeah, I just
So
found that
wild.
way.
Okay, so I actually had that backwards. I thought that you had always known each
Yeah,
other. So Evan was roommates. This is the roommate that got you into
yeah.
acting. So Evan and I would have met at some point down the line through Glenn anyway, but we ended up meeting not even through Glenn,
Was it,
but through Amanda Richards. We met through Amanda Richards at a Cody Simpson concert in West Hollywood.
was it? Yeah, it was through Amanda, right? Or was it through Glenn's?
But no, no,
Well,
no,
you
it
were
was
with
I know
Glenn's.
it was through me because okay,
It was
this
something
is
like
amazing.
that. It was
I'm
a
gonna
small.
no, 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 I got it, I got it, I got it. It's incredible. I'm also gonna have Amanda on the podcast at
Oh,
some point
great.
too because she's freaking amazing.
She's
Okay, so at the time in which you and I met,
mhm,
I was working at ICM. I was working for
right.
Joey,
Yeah.
and so ICM is a talent agency in Los Angeles, and Cody Simpson was one of our clients, and he had a show at some venue in West Hollywood. And I was tasked with inviting
Yeah.
people. And so I told Joey, oh, I have a friend that works in casting. I want to invite her. So I invited Amanda, but Amanda already had plans with you that night. And so she asked me if she could bring, I think it was a +2. It was you and someone
Yeah, it
else.
was.
So you came to the show through me, through her.
That's right. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was my manager and I were grabbing drinks with her just to catch up before. And then she was like, "Yeah, I'm going
Yeah.
to go see this concert right after." And I'm like, "Yeah, screw it. Why not?" And so,
And then you and I started hanging out, and then you started inviting me to volleyball down in Manhattan
mhm.
Beach. And then all of a sudden, you were like, oh, your boss also represents my friend that was my roommate. Like, and then that's how the Glenn connection came
The
in.
world's got a lot smaller very quickly, which was such a blessing. I feel like I landed in LA just like as God, the universe kind of just orchestrated, I just kind of landed on my feet. I was plugged in with amazing people
Totally.
who already had a good group of friends that were grounded in their own way and just with a similar mindset. I was so thankful for that. I know that's not always the first way to land in a new city when you hardly know anybody.
Well, and especially LA, I feel like so many people, I remember my entire time in LA, people asked me like, "What do you think of LA? Should I move to LA?" And then other people would be like, "I heard LA sucks. I heard the people are horrible." And I guess I feel similar to you. I feel like I landed and just got really lucky with just the most amazing people, like genuine, hardworking, kind. I think it's because you guys were all from Texas.
Yeah.
So
Well, the Texas group quickly ganged up and got bigger and bigger and bigger. So, yeah.
well, it was a Texas group, and then also when I first moved out to LA, I had a Texas crew, and then I had an Alabama crew.
Oh, yeah.
So I was roommates with a girl that was from University of Alabama, and then I dated a guy in that friend circle, and so I would party with those people half the time, and then I would party with your friend group half the time, and I was just with all these Southern people, and they were so nice.
They're so friendly, opening the door for
Everybody, everybody was
saying,
just so
"Hey,
nice.
y'all, hot diggity damn."
But I will say though, so we've known each other for
Yeah, here's
7 years, has it been
16, so
now?
it must be, I feel like it was,
17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 7 years.
yeah. We should figure out when
Yeah,
our
totally.
friendiversary is. Like,
I kind of wanted to look it up. I'm sure if we scroll back, we all we have to do is find the pictures of that Cody Simpson show.
yeah.
And I bet you I could
Oh,
find
that's
it.
true. That's probably date stamped. That's true.
Because I think we took a selfie that night too to send to
Yeah,
Glenn.
yeah. Oh my
Anyway, long story short, over these past 7 years, you have consistently been someone that I've just admired. I've admired you in so many areas in the way that you show up. I know that you don't think that you're the king of persistence, but you really are. When I met you, you were auditioning, you were dating with a smile on your face where other people might not have had that smile on their face. You were really putting in the work and you had this like unshakable belief that you were going to keep working and things were going to work out. And now you just got back from filming a movie abroad. You've been in like multiple successful things. You just got married to the most incredible girl. And it's so amazing to watch the good ones win.
God. That really means a lot. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Um, I feel like, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm just trying like the rest of us. You say unshakable. It's definitely been shaken quite a bit over the years. So we can get into that a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it's not
Yeah.
easy. I think it's just, my God, somehow I'm here. Like, I don't know. Like,
I don't think it was an accident though. We talk about this so often with manifestation. So many people have this idea that manifestation is just like pray that magical things are going to happen, but part of it is believing that magical things will happen, that it's inevitable that these incredible things are going to happen. But the biggest piece of it is the work, is showing up, is taking that aligned action, is not giving up, is continuing to pursue the thing that you know is inevitable. And I've watched you do this in so many different areas in your life. And yeah, I'd love to hear a little bit about you say that it has been shaken. Like what maybe we can talk about the acting thing and then we can go to the dating thing because that was very fun to watch you date over the
roller coaster,
years.
not everything. Um, yeah, gosh, you kind of hit on it there. I think the big part of it was just as we manifest things, as we say them, we have mantras, whatever, we pray, meditate, whatever it is that anybody does. So there's so much power in that, and it's not necessarily some like magical thing that's literally changing the tides of time, but what it is doing exactly what you said. It for sure is giving you the confidence to take action, right? To stay
Mhm.
in the fight, to stay grateful. So when you say all those things and you believe in yourself, if nothing else, that frown can turn into a smile and can just turn into an attitude of gratitude. And that's everything. There's where the magic is really just straightening that spine and just helping you like get back on track. Because we all fall off. The biggest thing in life is learning how to get back on. I just did this film and I got to play a Navy SEAL, which was super cool, lifelong dream. And one thing that they do is they're not necessarily better shooters, better runners, better swimmers. They're not necessarily better tacticians with the tactics in the field. They're just really good at getting back on track quickly. Shit hits the
Mm.
fan because it always hits the fan, and that's life. War is a very exaggerated, metaphorical, like view of a lot of situations that you can experience in your own life. But what they're really good at, and this is coming from the director Raymond, who was in the SEALs, and I thought it was so interesting that he said that, and I've heard that in different interviews just during research. But what they're really good at, sure, they train a lot. They are amazing shooters. They're great runners. They're great swimmers. They're great tacticians. But what they're really good at is getting back on track and back in line. So when something goes south, it's just like resetting, 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 and like refocus
Pivoting,
as those
pivoting.
things are happening. As those, yeah, it's like war scenarios are happening, or situations, and that can, I guess, be uh, translated to a lot of different situations in your own life as well.
So where do you feel like in your personal journey with pursuing this as a profession, are there particular moments where you felt like it was the knock that you really had to get your shit together to stay and get back on?
Hmm. Yeah, I think there's been a few.
Or any big blows that almost rocked you but didn't?
Yeah, yeah, uh, yeah. Just getting close to projects and then not getting them, caring too much about it when the world tells you, this world, Hollywood, tells you not to care. But like, why not? What's wrong with caring? What's wrong with falling in love with the story and wanting to be a part of it and wanting to help tell that to the world? I mean, that's a beautiful thing. So it's
Yeah.
a hard balance to have. I mean, there's been a lot of times where I've just been like angry at God because I really feel like the universe, God pushed me to where I am, and just kind of the
Mhm.
ways that things happen in life. I'm a big believer of if a door opens, it's really good, and you are so good at this. You are such a yes person. Like, sure, I'll go do that. Like, just have fun with it. But like when a door opens, walk through it. See
Yeah.
what that experience can do for you and where it can take you. I started taking my life into my own hands probably at the end of college. Before that, I was good at things, but I just kind of wanted to fit in. I was shy and I didn't really
Mm,
know which direction to go. So, and to no one else's fault, but only my own, I was only just kind of like pushed where the wind pushed me.
mhm,
Like
mhm,
a
mhm.
motor, or I wasn't controlling the sail of my own boat, if you will. I was just like, oh, sure, I'm good at math and physics. You do one of those high school exams where they test you and tell you like what you would be good at. And it's funny, I think that the top three things during that test was engineer, policeman, or actor. I can't remember the order, which one was first, second, and third, but I'm pretty sure it was those three from what I remember. And it was so funny because I was like, actor? Hell no, absolutely not. Not for me. And being just born and raised where I was, it just like was never a thing that clicked. And then policeman, I was like, I mean, yeah, I've always kind of thought about that world or something, but just didn't pay well. And my parents were like, you're so good at
Right.
math. You're so good at physics. Like, go be an engineer. And my dad's an accountant. My mom's a preschool
Like you should do this.
teacher.
You should do that.
Yeah. And it was 2008 when I graduated. So, like, 19 of my 20 interviews were for the oil and gas world right before kind of everything took a downturn. So, I was just kind of like saying yes to these things and not really
Mhm.
stopping to think about what I wanted and what I cared about. Um, and then, yeah, at the end of college, I did this bike ride thing to Alaska. That was my intention and my choice to do that. And then I chose after Houston to move to LA. And that was so empowering.
I love that you followed a girl. You've always been such a hopeless romantic, and it's so
It's true. Yeah, yeah, it is true.
you're I had another guest on here. Every single thing he said, every single story that he told was just like, "And then I met a girl, and then da da da." And I was like, "Okay, lover boy."
Yeah, all right, Casanova. Um,
But how beautiful is that? Yeah, stepping through the doors without the expectation of what that door needs to lead to, right? I'm sure part of you was like, "All right, let's go give this relationship a shot." But you saying yes to that then unlocked 4 other
Right.
doors.
And I think that started to strengthen my backbone, if you will, of making my own decisions,
Mhm.
following through, seeing them through, not listening to anybody else around me, or taking it in as like more of a grain of salt, but focusing on moves
Right.
me from the inside and just be like, no, I'm gonna move to LA, or I'm gonna take an acting class, or I'm gonna start pursuing that versus staying as an engineer. I think the more I took control of my own life, the more strength it gave me to persevere through those times when it did get hard. So eventually,
Yeah.
following those signs from the universe and just kind of like testing that out and seeing where it goes, even though of course it didn't work out with that girl, but that led me to being roommates with somebody who was an actor, and I was like, "What do you do all day?" He was like, I was like, "Yeah, okay, but what do you do all day? Like, what is this?" And then that opened another door.
And getting out of your comfort zone, your story from the get-go, like taking an acting class, doing something that's uncomfortable, doing something out of the norm and just trying it without again, without the expectation. I'm sure you didn't take that class thinking you were gonna become an actor. You probably just were like, "Oh, this is interesting." A beautiful takeaway from what you've shared so far is just that saying yes to things unlocks doors and opportunities, but sometimes it could be uncomfortable. And sometimes it's not the safe choice, it's not the obvious choice, and it's not the choice that everybody else wants you to make. It's the one that you feel guided to for whatever reason. And just see where that little bread trail goes,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. And I think it's important to realize you never jump from A to Z, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
when I was in high school and before, I was super shy and I just wanted to fit in. I was just finding my own way, trying to find a little clique of friends, and didn't quite fit anywhere, but didn't really know where I should go, and wasn't taking those steps on my own and just kind of being pushed around. And then when I started to make those decisions, it started to strengthen my own background to give me a little bit more courage to say, screw it, move to LA, say, screw it, take the acting class, and then just like snowballing from there.
At what point did you decide to quit the oil job? Like, logistically, you moved to LA, you had this roommate that was an actor, you're like, "I'm gonna take an acting class." What chain of events led to you being like, "Alright, I'm gonna do this for real, for real?"
I think just to solidify timeline, I'm pretty sure it was 2016 because I think I was an engineer for 5 years. And while I was
Okay.
engineering, I like to call it my Bruce Wayne Batman life. I was engineer by day, actor by night. Like, and
Right.
so acting class, my first acting class was with Leslie Kahn. Their intro class was like a 6 to 10 at night kind of thing. So 9 to 5, run home, eat on the way to acting class from 6 to 10. And that was like my intro.
Was this every day of the week?
No, it was twice a week, I think. It was like Tuesday,
Yeah.
Thursday or something.
Man, I'm in the process right now of doing a 9 to 5, and then I have like
Cool.
my, you
Yeah.
know, doing everything.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
It
work.
is.
It's a lot of work to like show up
But
fully,
you
do your whole day's job, and then be pursuing this. Like I just finished work 10 minutes ago and now we're hopped on this call. But that again goes to that persistence, it goes to that perseverance of showing up no matter what. Cause you very easily could be like, yeah, I just had a full day work. I'm too tired to do anything
yeah.
else. I'm going to lay down and watch Netflix and, you know, zone out. And instead you were like, I found something that lights me up, that gets me excited. I'm gonna put energy in
Yeah.
this. I'm gonna show up for real, for real.
Yeah. I mean, you have to. If it's something that's calling you and pulling you to do it, like why not? Yeah.
But people don't. And then they wonder why. It's such a big part of why I wanted to do this podcast is to show examples of what for us feels obvious. Of course, this thing lights you up. Of course, you're going to take the steps. Of course, you're going to go show up for the class. Of course, you're going to maybe be really tired, but do it anyway. I don't think that many people, some do, many do, because many, are in the same place that we are. But I think there's a large portion of the population that has this desire for a different type of life, but aren't doing anything to make that happen for themselves. And if they don't know what that thing is, which I think a lot of people are in that position where they haven't met the roommate that does the acting class, they haven't even like found that spark of curiosity. You need to get out there. And if you're not feeling satisfied and you're not feeling good in what you're doing, it doesn't mean that you have to quit your job and pursue that thing, but you could moonlight as an actor. You can go do a comedy class. You can start rock climbing, go camping on the weekends, join a church, like whatever the fuck it is. But something, anything other than like the doom scrolling that so many are getting stuck into
No,
now.
no, no kidding. I think a good thing to realize is I think everybody gets messages from fate, from the universe, from God. It's learning
Mhm.
about how to just be aware and start listening to them. It took me a minute to probably be aware. I think one of my electives in junior high was an acting class. I did it and I hated it. But that was maybe the universe being like, knock, knock. And I just wasn't ready to answer at the time.
Right.
I wasn't realizing that it was an opportunity to explore something outside myself. I wasn't ready for it, and that's fine. But when it's knocking and I
Yeah.
was ready, then
Well, I think you brought up a really beautiful point too, that the universe is always sending the messages, but in order to receive the messages, the key is that tuning in. I'd be interested to hear how your belief in a higher power, whatever that may be, plays a role in that. Because I know that your religion and spirituality is something that's important to you. But I think that some connection, whether it be something bigger and to yourself, I think in order to be able to hear the calling, you have to be tuned in enough to hear it. And in order to be tuned in enough to hear it, you have to be connected to self and not just on that autopilot of, I'm scared, I want to fit in, I want to make everyone else happy. Because that's the trap that I think so many of us fall into. And you hear this story over and over and over again of people that create these lives that they are obsessed with, that they love, and they've called in their partner and they've called in the job, and that everything's working out. It's like peeling back all the layers of it. That's where it starts. Are you even paying attention? Are you even tuned in? Can you even hear the call of what's knocking at your door?
right, yeah. And a lot of times, all we see is when somebody finally blows up, and you just compare your A to their Z, and you forget
Yep.
that it's just been so many steps in the middle and so much heartbreak in the middle and so many opportunities missed that individual even passed, that
Yep.
the universe
Yep.
like was trying to get them through. My biggest way of quickly analyzing something is in the future, would I be mad at my former self for not trying?
Mm,
Like the acting class, for example. At that minute, deciding whether to say yes or no,
yeah,
it's kind of like, okay, this might suck. It might be one class,
yeah.
I'm done, and that's fine. What's wrong with that? But in the future, if I don't even try, I'm going to be more mad at myself. Not mad, but maybe more like, oh, what if? Where
Disappointed.
could that have taken me?
Yeah.
If you really,
I saw recently there was a study where they interviewed people, like really old people dying, right? Like people at the end of their life, and asked them, what advice would you give your younger version of yourself, or what is the most profound thing that you have awareness of now? And the number one thing that all of them said were, you regret the things you didn't do.
yeah,
You never are going to regret shit that you did, but it's like, what if I called that girl? What if
yeah,
I said
exactly.
yes to that job? What if I took that flight? Like, what if? And those are the things that when you die, you're like, well, I'll never know.
Yeah, and it's easy to be hard on yourself in those situations, but it's also really important to give yourself grace because we're all human and we will pass. Like I missed plenty of what ifs, but honestly, I wouldn't change a thing in my life right now. And that's what keeps me grateful and happy, is like right where I need to
Yeah.
be. A lot of times, even throughout the struggles in the acting world, I started acting when I was 25. And it's like, man, I wish I found this when I was 6, 7, be so
Right.
much further in my career or whatever. But that's just like a cycle of comparison. And that's,
But then
well,
there are gonna be people that start when they're 40, they're gonna say they wish they started when they were
of
25,
course, of course. But it's
you
like
know?
you are currently as young as you'll ever be. So
Totally.
go. So let's start now.
Someone said recently that I loved in terms of that resistance to starting anything. They're like, time's gonna pass anyway, whether you do it or not. I was considering grad school at one point, and I was like, damn, that's like years of my life. And it's like, yeah, but those years are gonna happen whether I do grad school or not. So either I end those years with a degree or I don't. And that's a choice to make. But to not do it because of how long it's gonna take
Yeah. There's
is
a lot
silly.
of things I still beat myself up. I'm like, man, if only I started learning the language 2 years ago, I'd be fluent in X, Y, and Z. And it's like, well, I could start today, but at the same time,
Yeah, or pick up
yeah,
Duolingo.
but like at the same time, like I also enjoy just eating cheese and sitting on the couch, like, and watching something
Love that
silly
so
or
much.
whatever. You know what I mean? I have to give myself grace to just like, okay, maybe I'll never learn that language, and that's okay as well.
Or if you really wanted to, I think it's also about
Yeah,
prioritization. Because I think, if there's a million things you might want to do in this life, whether it's travel or learn a new language or pick up a new skill. And it's like you can do any of those things
right.
if you dedicate time and put in the work and actually do it. But how bad do you really want it?
How have
And
you
what's the opportunity cost?
how have you started to manage expectations just in a single day, for example? Like today I'm gonna
What do you
do
mean?
X, Y, and Z. And do you make a list the day before? Do you plan that out? Do you like when you go to bed, are you
Well,
happy with what you got done mostly? Like how do you
my biggest problem that I have is my eyes are bigger than my stomach. I want to do everything. And somebody says something cool and exciting, and I'm a yes, like I'm like, fuck yeah, that sounds amazing. I'll be on a flight tomorrow. Cool. Yeah, love that.
Mhm.
Amazing. Right now, I'm learning again how to prioritize, and I have to say no. I have to say no. Even today, for instance. So today I woke up early. I'm in Denver right now. So I'm working East Coast hours and mountain time. So I've been working since 7 in the morning, worked the entire day. During my lunch break, prep for this episode, had this episode going, and then I'm leaving Denver tomorrow. I have one person that I've been trying to see the whole time I've been here. And I'm like, yeah, that's important, but I'm also exhausted. And when I land in Nashville, I'm going to Nashville tomorrow. I'm working a music festival and I have da da da. So I was like, okay, I need to prioritize my well being right now. That right now is number one above hanging out with someone that I want to see. So after we hop off this today, I have an appointment to go do a float tank and a cold plunge and
Ooh.
sauna and that's going to be my night because that's what I
Sounds
need.
awesome.
And I could edit this episode tonight. I'm releasing an episode tomorrow. I could, like, there's a million things I could be doing, I should be doing, I want to do. But I think to answer your question, it's this constant checking in of what is most important to me right now, and ignoring that outside noise of all the things that I want, should, could, whatever. And it's like, what do I
Right.
need? And I'm getting way better at that discernment. But on the flip side of that, there are certain things that I don't necessarily want to do, that right now I don't want to do it, but I know I want it in the long run. So throughout my days, there are certain days where I'll make sacrifices and show up to something that maybe I don't want to show up to, or work on something I don't want to work on, because, I set this goal that I'm going to release a podcast every week. So if I have plans every single night of the week, and then the next day rolls around, I'm like, I have to say no to plans to edit,
Mm-hmm.
because I said I'm going to do that thing. And in the long run, what do I want? I want to stick to my word. I want to show up. I want to create something. I want to play also. I want to have fun. But what do I want
Yeah.
more? I want the long-term goal over the short-term satisfaction. And I think that's the piece that I'm realizing now. It's this, it's devotion to the bigger goal,
Mm-hmm.
and not letting that immediate gratification, the desire to, and again, it's twofold, because sometimes you need that rest, you need that relaxation, but just really being honest about, is this me fucking off because I'm self-sabotaging, or is this me relaxing because I need rest?
Yeah. Yeah. What would you say your drive is for all that? Like,
For I just have this vision. I want to build something. I want to create something. I want to This will be a whole separate solo episode. My whole career trajectory, and
so
what I
cool.
was
Yeah.
doing at the agency and with Glenn and all this, but I think for so much of my career so far has been pouring into other people, which I needed to learn and to grow and to understand how things operated. And now this chapter of my life is about building my own
I
thing.
love that.
And
Yeah.
so,
That from
yeah,
you
and
specifically, knowing you. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I just knowing you
no, go ahead.
specifically, because you are such a giver and a supporter and a lover, and like, you show up for your friends all the time, every time. And for you to focus on like your own growth as well, without, and it's not a selfish thing at all, you know?
It's the most selfless thing you can do. And that's a reframe that I've had to work through as well, where there can be this mentality that personal development, that pursuing your own passions, that doing these things can be selfish. But at the end of the day, working on yourself and showing up as the best version of yourself is truly the most selfless thing you can do, because it's in service of others. And what I'm trying to create also is to be of service to others. That is the goal. That is the dream. So I have to be consistent and do the work and put that in order to be able to pour. I want to pour from a space of overflow, not from depletion.
Mhm.
And so it's a delicate balance. And I'm sure you can relate to it as well. Like, spending nights at home, reading scripts and doing research and studying, when there's fun shit happening all the time. There's parties and there's events,
People
and
come out.
you have to say no
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah. It's like, it's a growth from I feel like I was like a big people pleaser, especially like when I was younger and a
Mhm.
little bit more shy. I just kind of wanted to people please. Um, and so it's kind of a growth, not away from that, but of recognizing that, not building through it, but just changing that to work for me instead of against me, I suppose.
Yeah.
And ultimately, for me, meaning for everyone around me, my world around me, people that I surround myself with.
Do you feel like that's come up for you in your journey towards pursuing your profession, pursuing your relationship, pursuing the life that you've, like, having that bigger vision of what you're working towards? How do you feel like that's played into your discipline and ability to remain disciplined?
Hmm. Kind of in the same way that you're talking about, where you have to make those sacrifices, but it's prioritizing just making sure that you're good first and foremost, because I can't be good, or my relationship with my wife Delia, for example, can't be good unless I'm good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like realizing the importance of that is game changer to every relationship I have, whether it's business, friends, whatever. You know, it's like making sure that I'm good to be good around others is paramount.
Yeah. Well, that's the piece of it. That's why I'm like, anyone that's doing personal development work that's showing up for themselves, it's like we need everyone to be doing that. And I think it's ironic. We pull cards before every episode that we do. And I've been pulled, it was a spirit priestess. So it was a card of femininity, which I think is really interesting for you because you've always struck me as somebody that you're very in your masculine for sure in many ways, but you also are a really beautiful balance of both. I think that you show up in the femininity in the sense of you're not afraid to share your emotions and to be real about what's going on in your life and to get deep and to have these, you know, you value connection and authenticity and being genuine with people. And it's been so cool witnessing you evolve and grow and show up in those ways and not letting those parts of you hurt you,
Yeah,
right?
but like grow from them instead in a way. Yeah.
Totally.
No, I appreciate that.
Totally.
Thank you. It was funny. We watched Velia, my wife, had never seen the movie Inside Out, which was like one of my favorite movies.
I don't think I'd seen it
What?
either.
Oh, you got to watch it. It's so good. The animated movie Inside Out. They just came out with Inside Out.
It's the one with the little things like where they have like all the little
Yeah,
emotions.
it's like your emotion.
Okay,
It centers around characters within your head being like emotions. So
got it.
anyways, we finally watched that, or she finally watched it, and I watched it with her. And I was like sobbing uncontrollably. It's so good. And she was like, it was just funny because she was like, I think you're the more emotional one between the two of us. And I mean, not that like she's very emotional and it's such a biggest heart of anybody I know, but I guess like the princess.
You're tapped
Just
in. You're tapped into your heart center. Like
yeah,
that's what I pick up from you is that you're so connected and so like you're in your heart when you meet people. It's like you can feel that energy from you that you just want to love them. And I think that was what, for me, being your friend as you tried to navigate the dating world in LA, I have this very specific memory of us sitting in a cocktail lounge somewhere in Hollywood. And you were talking about some dates that you've been on, and you just always had the most like you just were so resilient. That's just the best word I could think of. And you would tell me about some of these girls, and I'm like, you're so out of these girls' league. You are so kind. You're too good for girls like these girls. And you were like, yeah, but da 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 da. Your attitude, I think, is such a big piece of what has led to you finding success in different areas of your life because you didn't let things that I think would bring most people down, bring you down. You're just like, okay, and next, and whatever, and great. And I just appreciate that
oh,
about you as a human.
thanks. It was not easy. Oh my gosh. I think, dating in LA is hard. Dating anywhere in the world is hard these days, no matter where you are. I went on so many dates just through the apps. I always give this advice to all my friends for dating. I made a choice at some point, probably because I was spending too much money trying to meet up and have a drink or two. And then drinks in LA are $20 a drink or something ridiculous, and you're never going to see that person again. So, what I did is for any first date, any first meetup of someone that I had met on an app it was coffee during the day. If they couldn't do coffee during the day, it was ice cream in the evening. And it was like,
I love that.
$5 like, and it was like, can we even just be friends? Like, let's just start there. And I went on so many one dates of just that, of just like a coffee meetup, and I was like, oh well, and I always looked at it as like, sure, we find each other arguably attractive on the apps. You've liked each other's photo. So there's that. But like when you're meeting up for coffee or ice cream, it just kind of, for me, step back to like, hey, can we even just like stand each other? Can we be friends? Can we have a conversation?
Yeah.
And I always made the intention to, because it happened so many times when there was someone where 5 minutes in, you're like, in your head, you're like, okay, so I'm never going to see this person again. you know?
Were there any dates that you went on where you knew immediately? Because for me, when I was doing the
Oh, yeah.
apps, somebody would walk up and the way that, and they would look exactly like their picture. Like there was nothing like that, but it would just be like the way that they stood. I was like,
Yeah, no,
no.
energy plays a big role in that. And absolutely. But I guess what I was saying is like my intention with it was, because this happened so many times, was like, all right, I'm just going to go learn something new about a new person. I just like asked them a bunch
Mm,
of questions, kind of learned about their backstory, almost treated it like an acting exercise. I love learning about people. I love psychology, like why are people who they are, you know? So
yeah.
my first date was really just like an inquisitive school of just trying to learn more about people. And so it ended up really just being that. So a lot of my dates for the coffee or ice cream were really just interactions and trying to learn more about this random stranger that I get lucky enough to spend like an hour with, even if
That's amazing.
oh
I love
no,
this.
thanks. I mean, it worked for me. I found like arguably someone who's well out of my league, so I'm feeling good about it.
No, I had such high standards for you as a human being. And the minute I met Velia, I was like,
No,
perfect, perfect, perfect. Like you guys again and over and over and over again. And I say this, I feel this way about Tanner and Kayla. I feel this way about Josh and Sharon. I feel so grateful to have so many examples of couples that I respect and admire that I would want a relationship like that. That it's like the more and more that come into my sphere, the more I'm like, okay, universe. Because to me, that's the universe telling me it exists.
no,
I'm letting you know this is possible. And I think you and Bailey are high on my list of couples that are that reminder for me.
oh, I appreciate that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's funny that you say with the coffee and the ice cream. I was in New York for the last 2 months before I started moving around again. And I don't really drink anymore. I don't really like it. And I also particularly don't like it on dates because I don't like that element getting into it. I like it to be clear headed and just exactly to your point, like, can we stand to be in the same room? Do we like each other as people? Um, and so I started doing walk-in
cool.
dates where I'd meet up with someone and we'd meet at a location and then we would just walk along the water.
Yes,
We just
that
go on a
was
walk.
Velly and I's first date. Because it was
And it was
it was
amazing.
December 2020 when we had our first date, so you had to do something outside, right? Which actually like worked in our benefit because it forced us to grab the coffee and walk instead of just sitting. So we walked
Yeah.
along the beach in Venice Beach, and
Well, and for me too, I feel like doing something that I would want to do anyway, right? If I worked all day and I'm like, I don't want to sit down and talk to you. I need to get my steps in. Like I got to move, you know?
it's a good test of that individual as well. Some people are a little bit more sedentary and might not want to go on a long walk on the beach, right? But if that's something that's very you and it is you, then like that's important to you. Like it's
Yeah. You'll laugh too. When I was in LA, I went through this phase in dating where I called it experiential dating, where I got so fed up of like going for drinks. I was just getting so bored and annoyed with it that I was like, okay, similar to yours, but a little bit different because I was playing the fact that I wasn't paying for
yeah,
things.
but you got to pay for it
Little
day with
different.
the hangover of dealing with like if you're going for drinks or something, it's like
So I started this thing where I was like, okay, I only want to go on experiential first
uh,
dates because if I'm doing something cool that I wouldn't get to do otherwise, again, I was like, even if this date goes nowhere, I did something fucking
yeah,
awesome. I would say the top two that I did, I had one guy that took me on a motorcycle ride down the PCH up through Malibu, and we had a picnic up at like that was wild. And then they had another guy on a first date that lived on a sailboat that took me sailing in Marina Del Rey.
cool, that's awesome. But also,
And I was like,
I mean, yeah, Just make sure you tell your friends where you're going if you're not,
Yeah, looking back, both of those were a little sus.
and the motorcycle too. It's like,
No, the motorcycle was worse because
people,
he like drove me all the way up a mountain, like to this remote location, and I was like, "Ooh, this is how I go." I did meet up with that guy at a coffee shop
okay,
first to get a vibe check. I wasn't like, "Hi, nice to meet you, hop on the bike." Like, I was like, "Hey, let's sit down and have coffee first. Let me make sure you're not a serial killer." But
yeah,
also, like, thank God my gauge has been right because talking about like not regretting things that you've like, I not that I regret things that I've done, but I definitely look back at a lot of things I've done and I'm like, "Ooh, I was, ooh, I don't know if I should have done that, but I
well,
did."
oh my gosh, we all have a long list of those. Like, I think it's easier for me. The bigger regret comes from the things that you don't do than regretting something that you
Totally.
do.
Totally.
Usually, I mean, it's all situationally dependent, of course.
But then you're like, "Oh, that could have been really bad. That could have been a no-no situation."
There,
But
there,
sometimes those are the most fun. I had my friend Dana on the podcast a couple days ago, and you should listen to this episode. You think I'm crazy. This girl, I swear to God, she makes me look like a little saint. She is wild. And like her stories are like I hop on the pre-call with her to talk about, like blah, blah blah. She's like just got back from South America, fly fishing with some strangers in the like I was like, what? And she was like, oh yeah, I met this guy. And just that's how all the stories go. But her and our conversation was all about saying yes to life, which is in similar theme to what we're talking about, that we were like, both of us, people are always asking, how do these things happen for you? Your life's so amazing. You get to do this and that. And I really was thinking about it. What is the thing that I do that's different than what other people do? And I was like, I say
yeah.
yes. Say yes to things that most people would say no to. I get myself in situations that sometimes are dicey, but sometimes are fucking awesome. And like,
And I love that about you. It's amazing.
and then people are like, what the fuck, Amanda? Like, how did you end up like? And I'm like, well, funny
Funny
story,
story. Yeah.
actually.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
But I think that's where so much of the like, fun, just fun. Like life doesn't have to be so serious all the time. Like it gets to be fun. We get to play, we get to enjoy, we get to work hard, and we have to make sacrifices to achieve the greater goal of what we're trying to accomplish. And, I'm sure at this stage in your life, right? You've done the career, you're now married, like there's all these different stages of like, all right, what's next? What do I want to build next? What am I working towards? What do I want, my next 10, 15, 20 years to look like? And all of that dream building takes dedication and devotion and daily practice and showing up towards that higher version of yourself. And so it's definitely a balancing act. And I commend you for the way that you do it, and you inspire me. And I'm so happy that I got to have you on here to inspire my listeners.
Oh,
Just in your simple being, you get to be that bright, beautiful example of what's possible, of how to just show up and have a good fucking attitude about
yeah.
it.
That's one thing you can't control is your attitude. You can always control your attitude. So, no, I appreciate that. It's very kind. It's so much fun coming on here and get to catch up with you.
I think we did great. This was so fun. And this is also my selfish way of getting to catch up with people that I love and
Yeah.
admire.
Yeah.
So we got to kill two birds with one stone.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Evan, so much. Thank you all for listening to us, and hope to catch you guys on the next episode.
All right, guys. Love you, Amanda. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.